All right, good morning, everybody. Um, I'll just start. First off, on behalf of the organization, just a note of gratitude to Jeff Carter, and congratulations to him on a great career. It was interesting for me. Jeff and I are the same age. He came to Sault Ste. Marie as a 16-year-old, so we've known each other for almost 25 years now, and so to be able to see. I think the level of respect and admiration that those around the league have for him, especially the last couple days, and I think most importantly, everything he added to the group, off the ice, leadership, preparation throughout this whole season. I think that will be something that will have big time benefits to the Penguins for years to come. I think showing some of the guys even in their early 30s, what it takes to get to be able to play into your late 30s, and in his case 39 years old, sets a great example for our group. So very thankful to Jeff, and wish him nothing but the best in his retirement. We had 6 guys this year play all 82 games, which in the way the schedule is and the travel and the way the schedule is changing, I think is always a remarkable feat. Marcus Pettersson, Eric Carlson, Chris Letang, Sid, Lars Eller, and Evgeny Malkin played in all 82 games. I think especially in Chris's case, the things that he went through during the year to make sure that he could be available in all 82 games was remarkable. Speaks to who he is as a person and how competitive he is and what he's willing to put on the table for the team. And I think a huge credit, in addition to those players, should go to our performance staff led by Marty Lozon and our medical staff led by Chris Stewart and Dr. Vias. The staff of our team, in particular Jason Seidling on the team operations side, and John Taglianetti and his equipment staff, the amount of work and care that they put in for the Penguins to keep it running on a daily basis at an extremely high level was very impressive to me, and deeply appreciated by all of our staff and players. And obviously you all interact daily with Jen and her crew of Evan and Emma and Gabe. So I think at these times of year it's important to note how great those people are at their jobs, even if the team results aren't what we all aspire to, or they may be disappointing. That it doesn't defeat the fact that there are people in the building doing outstanding work, and it doesn't get seen by the public on a daily basis, and so it warrants mentioning. As for the season that was, obviously last summer, the goal was to try to provide a boost to the group after last season and missing the playoffs. The intention going through the summer, particularly the trades that we made, the goal was that those players would come in and add elements that were missing or that the group needed, and that could propel us back into being a playoff team once again. I think throughout the season we started off poorly, dug ourselves a hole in October, started to make our way out of it, and then from mid-January through to really to April, we struggled. And we can talk as long as we want today and answer any questions about where we're at on that. But I think that stretch is, if we can focus on individual things, we can focus on stretches of the year. But I think that stretch from mid-January through to April, then we went back into Madison Square Garden and started to get on the run. That's the stretch that has us here today and not getting ready to play in the playoffs. So, with regards to where we'll go in the future, this press conference might not provide all the answers that everybody specifically wants or wonders about, because I view this time as pivotal. The exit meetings with the players, the meetings with the coaches, the meetings with all of our department heads, that has to be used to inform the decisions and where we're going to go throughout the summer. But I think you all have a good idea from what we did at the trade deadline that we need to reposition where the team has been, for the last, really for the last couple of decades. And I think justifiably the team for a long time has been pushing to move assets in attempts to win, and the team has won here 3 times and been in contention for far longer than that many other times. But we need to reposition the way that we go about it. We've started to do that, replenish the assets that we have in an attempt to get us back into not sitting here 2 days after the regular season and having year-end press conferences and meetings. That's where we're at, and I will turn it over to you all for questions, and we'll take as many as you don't have to rush to put your hands up. I'm not going to go anywhere until everyone's got their questions. Yeah.
Seth, my apologies. Kyle, for
I was more laughing at Seth's reaction to your apology. Yeah.
The final 14 games, your season on the line, Alex Nedeljkovic was in goal.
Yes.
What does that say to you about the future of both Alex with the organization and Tristan's?
Well, I think the circumstances, I think, in knowing what the narrative was, I think that one of the things that I think has been left unsaid are these circumstances by which Alex came into net to take over in net at that time at Madison Square Garden. I think it was on the Monday, the first day of that trip. Tristan was scheduled to play, and he and a number of our players, like, during warm-up and leading up to the game, became violently ill. So Ned had to play that game. We won. Tristan was nowhere near ready to play the next night, so Ned played again, won. And then from then on, it was, Ned played on the Thursday in Washington. We won. We come back. We win. So I think at that point, especially with where we were in our year, where we basically at that point, as you saw, we had to win every game. We lost one in regulation from that point on, before we were eliminated on Tuesday night. So I think Ned did what every player wants to in that spot. He takes the opportunity and runs with it. And I think the easy thing to say now is, of course, and I don't begrudge it, it's, what does that say about Tristan? To me, Tristan, when you close out, you look at the whole year, I think he would be the first to tell you he wanted to be better and has to be better. And I think that's one of the best things about athletics is that Tristan has massive potential. Both goalies, for most of the year, our goaltending was right near the top of the league in tandem. And what I'm most excited about for Tristan is that I think every player that gets in these spots at these points in their career can be a real inflection point, and he has to make the decision of how he wants to respond next year. There's obviously doubt, there's questions, and I don't think that's necessarily just because of his play. It's because of the fact that at this point in the year, Ned, when he got sick, Ned stepped in and ran with it. So I'm excited to see how Tristan responds, because that's what this is really all about. How guys like that are able to push back when things don't go their way. With Ned, I think all year everyone has talked. He's a great person, great work ethic, great motor. I was very happy for him that because of he's competed his butt off throughout the year, especially when our team wasn't playing really well at all down that stretch in March. He showed up every day, worked. Both goalies did. So it was nice to see him especially get rewarded, because he'd had a couple tough years before coming in here, and I think really won the respect of everybody in the room. And so it was great to see him take advantage and run with it. So he's an unrestricted free agent. I think he's been very vocal about his views. We, as I said to him yesterday, we have a situation where we have a young goaltender that's also pushing in Joel Blomqvist. We're going to use this next stretch of weeks, the last two games here. He'll play one game this weekend, but then really the playoffs with Wilkes. How does Joel play? Can he assert himself at that level? And then we'll have more information of how we want to go ahead with our goaltending.
Good morning, Kyle, and thank you for doing this. How much responsibility does the coaching staff bear for how this season played out? And are changes to that staff something to which you'll give serious consideration?
The way I look at the year, Dave, is I think that in the end, the responsibility for the year falls on me. That's this role. Everyone that's in place here is in place because I've either brought them here or have elected to keep them here. And so when things don't turn out and the year falls below expectation, I think that in this in professional sports, that falls on the person who's in my spot. And so I take the responsibility for the fact that we're sitting here today and not in the playoffs, and that we had that stretch where we really cost ourselves that chance. having said that, it's my job to evaluate all of the groups that are, all systems that we have in place, coaching, medical, equipment, player development, et cetera, and make sure that we've got the right people and staff in place to get us to where we want to go. Sully and I will meet continually about the staff, go through each staff member, evaluate whether they're the right fit for our group or not, and then evaluate whether we want to make any changes. But I think what I will say about the coaching staff is the amount of work that all of them respectively put in throughout the year, their efforts, their push to change and evaluate the way that we were playing, especially when it wasn't going well. I think Todd, Mike, Ty, Andy Kyoto, Madison Nickel, and CJ Delamonte, like they were unrelenting in their push and quest to try to bring us back. It wasn't for a lack of effort on their part at all. So I think to answer your question about who does the responsibility fall on, it falls on me, and it's up to me and Sully and our whole management group to work to get us back into the spot where everyone here in Pittsburgh wants us to get to.
Kyle, you said, I think it was after the trade deadline, you talked about sort of the big four being part of this, but also that can help sort of lead the next great Penguins team. And I'm curious, in the cap era, it's been really, there's not a lot of examples of teams that have sort of done what the Penguins have done, but also teams that were even close when they're having a stretch where they don't make the playoffs for a couple years in a row, of it being a quick turnaround. And you said you thought it wasn't going to be long. I'm curious why you think that, and is there something you've seen this year that makes that your opinion?
Well, first I would say that I would disagree that there aren't examples of teams where it hasn't taken long. I think when this team started contending, LA wasn't contending yet. Then they won twice, then they missed the playoffs and acquired some high picks, and now they're a contender again. That's my opinion of LA. I think they're a very good team. The Rangers were contending when the Penguins were contending. The Rangers went through their own pivot, I'll call it, and now they just won the President's Trophy. So I think that when people say they want to rebuild, what they really mean by that is a full-on scorched earth, try to project who the number one pick is going to be in 2025, 26, 27, 28, say, yeah, it's going to work out, we're going to get them all, and then we're going to be great again. And my view of it is that there are more examples of late of teams that contended when this team was contending that have pivoted in short order to acquiring, to replenishing their younger group of assets, whether that's prospects, picks, players, and then turned it quickly while the key members of their group were still there. Like LA, Kopitar, Doughty, the Rangers. You can go through the group, but Zibanejad, they've had Kreider, Zibanejad. Those guys were there when they were good, and then in particular Kreider. But then they've also transitioned it quickly throughout, the trades they've made, picks they've made. So I think the easy answer is to sit up here, and I think when you're in these spots and say, okay, we're just going to rip it all the way down, and it's going to require patience, it's going to be painful. If that's the right course, there are organizations that have done that well. I think here with our group that we have, it would be foolish not to try to get those younger players in and around those players like Sid, like Chris Letang, like Brian Rust. I mean, people who come in every single day and operate at an extremely high level and get the most out of themselves. So that's the way I view it, but we haven't gone through our full breakdown of the year, where we want to go, how we stack up against the other teams in our division next year, the year after, where those teams are at in their own cycle, and how can we surpass them. So we have to, I'd love to be able to give clear-cut answers right now, but I think that'll become more clear as we get towards the draft and free agency, Rob.
Kyle, when we spoke with Lars Eller yesterday, he was asked, why do you think things didn't pick up sooner? What was the problems earlier in the season? And one thing he said was he thought the lows were too low for too long. Yeah. And one example that he pointed to was the area before and after the Gensel trade on the calendar. Yeah. given the veteran influence on this team, are you disappointed that that was the case? And are you surprised that that was the case in those weeks in and around when you traded Jake?
Both, I think it's fair to say. I think surprised and disappointed because the reason is that we showed what we're capable of once we got back to it through for the last 12, 13 games, whatever it was. Really, once we got to Colorado, I felt, I know we didn't win that game, but I've been in that building a number of times where they get way up in games, and then you feel it's about to start coming in waves. And but I felt we played well there, and then we came home. We played Carolina, we won. We didn't play well in the 2 Columbus games, but then we got ourselves going again, and we were starting to accrue points. So yeah, if we had shaken the doldrums a little bit earlier, we might be in a different position. I think it's very instructive to everybody moving forward. But that's how I feel.
Which prospects or younger guys are you looking at as guys who could come in and genuinely push for a spot next training camp?
I think certainly that's been one of the bright parts, Taylor, of the year is that, we've had we've had both guys who were kind of bubble or depth, perceived as depth, step up big time in the second half of the year, particularly down the stretch. Drew O'Connor and P.O. Joseph would be the 2 top examples of that. But then we also, you see guys start to come up. Sam, he was caught up in the same thing as Tristan, where, in New York, he got really sick as well, because that was going to be his run, because he had played very well for Wilkes. He's gone back down. He's played well with Wilkes. So I think certainly when I look at the guys that are down there pushing, Jack St. Ivany, obviously he's come up here and played well in this stretch. So I expect, the messaging to him was go down, dominate as you have through the playoffs, help Wilkes to win. And then that'll put you in a better spot coming into camp next year. So certainly I expect him to be in that mix. Sam, I expect Sam to push and make the roster next year as a full-time guy. Joel Blomqvist, we talked about earlier on the goaltending question, expect Joel to push. But these guys have a massive opportunity here still yet on the playoff side. You've got Owen Pickering, his team's down to Braden Yeager's team, 3-1 in their series. Whatever team falls from that series, the other guy's should be going into Wilkes to help them and help push. So those are the types of guys I expect. Ponomarev, it's unfortunate because he came over, he was playing well, and he just got a really bad injury that's going to take very precise care to come back from. It's a bad high ankle sprain. So we're going to need, but he's someone who's already played in the NHL and played well in the NHL and was playing well for us. It's unfortunate. He's still a number of weeks away, but we expect him to push for the roster as well. Those would be the types of guys. I expect those 2 younger kids, Yeager and Pickering, to push, like assert yourself, like have a huge summer, assert yourself. We've shown here in this last stretch, if you're a young player, and you're willing to push through the summer, you've got a massive opportunity. You can have a shot here with us. So, and that's what we need desperately.
Kyle, Ryan Graves, your most prominent free agent acquisition last summer. I think it's maybe fair to say didn't work out as hoped for everyone involved so far this year. Just what was your assessment of how he played, and does he still need adjustments to the system? Is there anything you can see that Ryan can do better to get more acclimated to the Pittsburgh Penguins?
I think with Ryan, there's no dancing around it. He was a very good player in Colorado and New Jersey, and those were both, both very good teams. Came in and from the beginning, I thought, and it happens. Did I expect it to go the whole year? No. I think part of that it's on us as an organization. It's as much on Ryan to push and find his way through the summer. I think it's a massive summer for him. His strength, which will allow him, I think, to be more physical and make stops in the defensive zone. His mobility, as he gets, to be 29 to start next year, he's going to have to really push and work on that. But we have to arm him with the path to get there, and then he has to execute it relentlessly. And if he can do that, he's going to get back to being the player that he was when we signed him. But it's going to be up to him in the summer to execute that and come into camp and be ready to roll. It falls in the same bucket as Tristan, in that I look at those guys that I think the ending of the year particularly is what stands out in everybody's mind. But if the whole year didn't go the way that you want, how are you going to respond? How are you going to change in the summer, change your preparation, change your training to be able to come in and make a greater impact? And I think that's the expectation from Ryan. He's a great person, great character, and I know how proud he is, and I fully expect him to come back in next year and have a great year. That's my view, and I think that's, again, one of the better parts of this job is when you have people that are in those spots. You have to help them, but then they pull their way through and climb their way out and back. And so that's my expectation. But I don't think it's system related. I think it's professional athletics. You have to adapt after 70 games. So I think you have to adapt much quicker than that. But I think once it gets past a short stretch, system isn't an excuse.
Kyle, Sid's obviously coming off a great year. He's also going into the final year of his contract. He'll be 37. Kind of what is your mindset in approaching him with contract talks and what the goal is, and would you like to get it done before the season starts?
I think, to me, his age, you've kind of hit it on the head to start. You've probably sat here for 17, 18 years and said he's just coming off a great season. So, which is one of the great luxuries of having a player in person like that. I think those conversations, I know everyone will want answers. I know they'll be a big topic, but I think it's imperative that they're kept private between Sid, myself, and Pat Brisson. In regards to his meaning to the team and what the intention is, I think it's always been clear. I think he should finish his career with the Pittsburgh Penguins. How long that is, I'm not going to put any limits on Sidney Crosby. He's capable of great things and still performing at an extraordinarily high level, not only in games but every single day. And then his energy level, passion for it doesn't decrease. And he's the type of person that's always trying to add new things, even at this age. He's not about maintaining, he's about continuing to find new levels. So I think he's a special person in that regard.
Kyle, the power play never really got off the ground this year, wasn't able to really establish much traction as the year went on. From your vantage point, did you feel that the issues with that unit were more of an execution standpoint with the personnel, or were there potentially some deeper-seated issues with regards to strategy and tactics? And just, in your mind at this point in time, how do you go about fixing that unit so it's more of an asset as opposed to a borderline liability?
Sure. I think whether it's in, however you want to phrase it, I think we have to get it, the power play, to a point where it's functioning at a high level, like everything that we do. To me, the units changed continually to try to find the perfect or the way for us to carve ourselves ahead. I thought at the end of the season, through that stretch, the power play was giving us momentum. It wasn't necessarily scoring, but I thought there were points of the year where, I think it's a natural thing. When you have a talented team and the power play isn't functioning, I think everyone sitting in this room can feel it. The crowd and I think everybody in the building gives it one revolution, one face-off, one chance to set up, one entry before it starts to then it becomes restless, then angst builds, and then it leads to booing, and everybody feels that. The players feel it, the coaches feel it, the fans feel it. Everyone wants the power play to be great and be seen as a separator for the team to help it win games. To me, I don't think it's deep-rooted. I think the coaching staff collectively, Sully, Todd, like the amount of work they put into the power play, it was immense. The players, obviously, you watched every day how much we practice it. We practiced it every day. And I think the key was, I felt it was better once we had when Bunting was in the pocket, in the bumper spot in the middle, whatever you want to call it. And it allowed us to make plays into the middle and operate from there. And then he was able to make plays to both sides of the ice. Gino started to one-time the puck a little bit better. And then it started to come together too late. But and I don't think it was scoring at the level we wanted it to, but it was, at the very least, it was giving us momentum and giving us looks and giving us chances. They weren't falling. All that said, I don't buy into the whole having to look at what we're generating in terms of expectation. The power play is about execution and outcomes. We have to produce. We can't allow shorthanded goals against. We have to execute at a high level. So in the end, it comes down to execution. Execution is borne by the systems, but at the same time, it's all on all of us. It's on me to have the proper personnel to hold the coaching staff accountable. It's on the coaching staff with the players, and it's on the players themselves. So it's a collective situation that we need to get much, much better at, because it was obviously costly.
Kyle, you've already started the process of bringing youth into the team, and I'm sure that's going to continue, but contracts dictate you're going to have an elderly core. Given that, does the methodology need to change, or are you still fast enough to play as fast as you want?
I think the best way to I think we'll go through a deep and thorough review of it, Mark. I think the key is, there's the playing fast, which I think sometimes gets confused with overall speed, and I look at playing fast as, do you have guys who can quickly move the puck to one another and keep the chains moving, rather than I don't think we're going to have the type of team that's going to be able to, like a Carolina as an example, where they're much younger, where they can hunt the puck down and chase it down all the time. I think the combination of the age of the group and as you age, speed generally declines for most. It's maybe not the most conducive to sustaining that over 82 games. I think it's for us playing more deeply connected and moving the puck quicker in possession is important, that we have the players that can do that. So I think you always want to play fast. Hockey, I've never found is you can try to build it from the back and slowly go up, but the game is so fast that it's not like soccer where you can do that as well or as effectively. So for me, we need to, I look at playing fast as, are we able to quickly make plays to one another in possession, rather than how fast can we track things down, how fast can we get on the forecheck. I think all those things are important game by game, but obviously I did not think that, I think the team speed overall, we have to continue to improve that, because I found in games where the other teams played with a ton of pace, both with and without the puck. Those especially gave us problems, and a lot of those teams are in our division, so we're not going to be able to beat those teams consistently and rise in our division until we improve that.
I'm just curious how you thought the dynamic went with your hockey operations department. You brought in a lot of new people. There were a lot of people who stuck around too. And then as far as the GM dual role, do you plan to continue that, or are you open to adding a GM this year to work alongside you?
Yeah, I'll roll along. I don't think right now with where we're at, bringing in, frankly, somebody that's going to be deferring to me anyway is at all what we need in our building. I feel like with Doug Wilson's added a ton, not only for me but to the staff in terms of their development, and the job he's done mentoring them. I feel like Spez is invaluable. How quickly he's able to learn and pick things up, how quickly he's evolved and developed, and from playing into management. Tom Kostopoulos on the player development staff, they've done an incredible job this year. And that staff, it's a hugely important department for us with where we're at and where we're going. He's done a fantastic job of incorporating in a lot of new people and bridging them and connecting them with the rest of the organization. So very happy on that front. Vuki Apofu, we went through that process last year on the cap and compliance side, and he's a former player who got his law degree, who has been unbelievable in the building with everybody, the way he's able to build relationships, the way he's able to communicate with everyone. So there's never anything unclear on the cap roster side. So he's been outstanding. Amanda Kessel's been great. Amanda's awesome. I think Amanda, Vuki, and Jason, and I think part of this is my responsibility and probably Doug's, could all be general managers. I think Andy Socher fits into that same lexicon. He's been great on the pro side, hugely helpful at the deadline. I've been really happy with our group. It's a small group, relatively speaking, but the amount of work that they've been able to do has been great. And then the minor league operations and the amateur side, Eric Heasley's handled that, and he's been It's been no maintenance for me, which is what you desire and you want. And the teams at the minor league level have both performed very well. You know, Wilkes is in the playoffs, and they've got a chance to get a first-round bye if they can take care of business and some things go right this week. And Wheeling's back in the playoffs in a really tough division in that league with a lot of our guys down there. So, and credit for that goes to Eric for the work he's done with their coaching staffs, and TK for the job he's done on the development side as we built it out. So, I don't, unless somebody moves on for a promotion elsewhere, I see it as the same. Well, I'll evaluate it, but my instinct right now is that group itself has so much potential to continue to grow. It's up to me to, and really to Doug in his role to keep moving it along.
Outside of Graves, you're good. Outside of Graves, how would you assess some of the other first-year players that you brought in, like a Carlson, Chari, or Riley Smith?
First-year guys brought in. Lars, Eller, trying to go through by position. So Lars Eller was, I think, everything we've signed and asked for, he brought. I think the key for Lars is going to be played every game, not the sexiest role you'd want in hockey. Defensive zone starts, penalty kill, giving shelter to the big guys above. Did so consistently and reliably. Also chipped in about the offense that you'd want from the role, probably a little bit more, and was good, really good. Noel, less sexier role than Lars, in that I think his defensive zone, I think he might have started more shifts in the defensive zone than almost anybody. So I get a little defensive when people get on him about his offense because it's hard, man. And when you're in that role, heavy penalty kill, playing with a wide range of different line mates, game in and game out, and being still expected to execute that heavy defensive role, it's tough. And that's a guy that puts his body and every part of it on the line for the team every single night. Excellent penalty killer. If we gave him more offensive opportunity, he would produce more, and he's shown that in his career. He probably could get up to 10. He had 20 goals one year with Florida. That's Noel. We need to help him stay healthier, but the way he plays and the way he puts it on the line, especially defensively, shot blocking, physicality, probably you have to count on him missing some time, but we'll do everything we can. The staff did this year everything they could to keep him healthy. Riley Smith, great start to the year with Gino and Rax, especially when Rax wasn't going well. And then from mid-November on, I thought collectively Rax was hurt. Gino wasn't as good, and I thought that affected Riley. Very different line mates than what he played with in Vegas, Marchessault and Carlson. So a big adaptation for him. And then he got hurt himself in January, and then I felt he was better once after the trade deadline. We were able to kind of with Bunce going into that role in the second line. I thought that really helped the second line a lot. And Drew went up with Sid and Rusty, and I thought he helped them a lot. Certainly maintain their level that they were at with Jake. And then I thought that let us put Riley with Lars and Pusty. And I thought that was a better fit for Riley to kind of get him back up and rolling. He would be the first yesterday in talking to him. He knows he wasn't as good as he was last year. Certainly he was an excellent player on a Stanley Cup winning team. But I think if you look at his history, I would expect a big bounce back from him next season. Eric Carlson, I thought at the end of the year showed exactly why you acquire Eric Carlson. Skated, took charge, shot the puck rather than try to slap pass it through 5 people every time, which he and I have had many discussions about. And became awfully effective because he kept the defense off balance, defended harder, still needs to come in that way. He's going to be in his mid-30s, massive summer to maintain his level and improve it and start next year rolling. But I think he got on his way like the rest of the group overall, at the same time and a little bit too late. So, but wouldn't change anything with him at all. I think he's going to be able to play at a high level for a long time. Other first-year players brought in, I think Ned, he was excellent. Otherwise, that's that. So.
Kyle, you've made it very clear this team needs to get younger and faster. You've said that really from the beginning, but I'm curious, just the way it finished in the last month of the season, does it change your approach in any way to this summer? Does it maybe change your opinion of what this team is capable of when you saw them play? And I guess along those lines, sorry for 4 questions at once, but are the playoffs next season viewed as a priority when you see what this group is still capable of down the stretch?
My view of it is that I will not get too caught up in the start or the middle portion, like call it from early November to mid-January, where I thought like that's probably a good snapshot, because through that stretch we were, that caliber was a playoff team. From mid-January to mid-January, February, March, that was not a playoff team at all. That was a team that was going like high lottery, the way that we were playing then. And then in April, we were a contender. So that's I'm not going to get too caught up in the roller coaster, because it was a roller coaster, but everybody here rode it, so the impact. But a year like that, like, you're going to have ups and downs in a year. To go like so starkly between like very, very much playoff team and non-playoff team, we kind of touched it all throughout the year, and in the end, that gets you exactly where we are today. When you go, very poor start, really strong stretch, really bad stretch, strong ending, you're gonna be in the spot of you, which is on the bubble, which is not a place to be. And it's been 2 years in a row. I think it's come down to waiting the night before the season for another team to win to give you a chance on the final day. It's not desirable, and it's not conducive with the end goal, which is to reposition the way that we go about it, replenish the prospects of the team and the draft capital of the team, and then start to build towards being a contending team that everyone in this room and in this city expects and has gotten used to. So that's really the only goal for me here, and I knew that coming in, Josh, that this was all going to be part of it. It's just a matter of how quickly can we get it there. And I mean, you can quickly get it there for a short stretch. It's how quickly can we get it there for a long stretch where we're back in that mix. And so the way that I look at it is, I only look in our division. You can criticize whether that's right or wrong, but if we can, that's who we're fighting with for playoff positioning. So as of this moment, we sit here today, we're fifth best, with New Jersey, I think, having an off year, that they're going to get right back at it again next season. And you got a President's Trophy winner in the Rangers, an elite team right at that same level in Carolina. They're probably not going anywhere. So we have to position ourselves to get back up there, surpass them, as they go through their various cycles as well.
Just a couple injury updates, if I may. Chris yesterday indicated surgery might be an option. Is there any more clarity? Chris Letang indicated surgery might be an option yesterday. Is there any more clarity you can provide on him? And Matt Nieto didn't play a game since November 30th. Is there anything you can provide on him as well?
Chris was going to get a second opinion on all that ails him, which is significant, and he's played with it the whole year. But it's it's likely going to head that way, and then we'll have an update once he makes a decision one way or the other on it. Matt Nieto, I don't know if I've ever felt this bad for somebody throughout the year, just in terms of the amount of work he put in, and every time he would put the work in, he would have a setback. Obviously had a successful surgery, then in coming back sustained another injury. So I mean, he's going to go next week for a kind of another and final opinion on what the future is in terms of whether he's going to rehab or have another operation, and then we'll have an update there on him. And John Ludwig is another that we'll have a further update on whether he requires any type of operation alleviate his issues. So that's kind of it as I see it. Everyone else is maybe got some bumps and bruises, but I think that's that. Obviously Graves and Bemstrom were concussions, and our hope is, I think Bemstrom looks to be on close to back, and Graves I think would be another week or so, but that's the hope. But with concussions, it's fool's errand to try to guess. We have to do what's right for the health of the players. So, okay, thanks everybody.